I'm going to alter my voice because it's a kind of call and response, although it's Mama always talking, but she's actually responding to herself. You get the idea, right? So let's have a chant. Mama knows best. You shouldn't do it that way. You ought to do it this way. You ought to do it this way. You ought to do it my way. You shouldn't wear it that way. You ought to wear it this way. You ought to wear it this way. You ought to wear it my way. You shouldn't go with them. You ought to go with us. You shouldn't take the train. You ought to take the bus. You shouldn't wear a hat. You ought to cut your hair. You shouldn't get so fat. You ought to eat a pear. You shouldn't do it that way. You ought to do it this way. You ought to do it this way. You ought to do it my way. Right. Now, and right. So let's finish this section on modals with a song which practices the modal can't. It's one of the best of the British, from one of the best of the British punk groups, X-Ray Specs. This is back in the 70s. We'll finish off with a song. The song is called I Can't Do Anything, and it's by X-Ray Specs. X-Ray Specs were one of the best of the British punk groups in the 70s, and they had a very attractive singer, Polly Styrene. And this song is called I Can't Do Anything. So let's listen to the song. let's sing it together. Those of you who are as ancient as me may even recognize the original tune. It's from a song called Teenager in Love by Dion and the Belmonts, and that was back in the 50s. So Polystyrene did take the tune. I don't think it's serious plagiarism because the eras were so different. Now, up to now we've looked at verbs. Now we're going to look at adjectives. And we're going to look at comparatives and superlatives. In Indonesian, we express comparatives by using lebih and kurang. So, Agus lebih pintar dari bagus. Bagus kurang pintar dari Agus. In English, it's not so simple. All right, so the problem is with adjectives with two syllables. There is a choice. You can use more plus the adjective on its own, or you can add ER. And some textbooks will tell you one or the other, but you can use both, in fact. So let's have an example. Barbie is prettier than Miss Piggy. Here again, the adjective pretty, the Y would change into IER. The Y changes to IER. You can also say, Barbie is more pretty than Miss Piggy. That would be less usual, but it's possible. So, quite simply, you can use both, and you won't be wrong. You can use more or add ER. For adjectives with 3 syllables or more, it becomes easier. We just add more to the adjective. So let me see. Let's see. Churchill was more eloquent than Attlee. Quite simple. And it's the same, as I said, for adjectives of 4, 5 or more syllables. So that's simple. Now we'll come on to the superlatives, the superlatives, the most yang paling in Indonesia. And here you would use the most before the adjective. You would just precede the adjective with the most. Now we're going to practice this with a chant, another chant, which I wrote for students who were going to Australia, for Indonesian students who were off to Australia to study. So I did a little geographical tour. I imagined that Alicia Keys and Britney Spears, who were very popular at that time, they were very, they were cool at that time, had given concerts in various places in Australia. So here we go. It's called Alice and Britney Comparatives, Willie Superlatives. Because who is Willie? It's Willie Nelson, the great country singer, and he's here admitted to be the superlative of the 3 of them. So stand by for the chant. Okay. Just listen first of all. Britney's big in Berg. Alicia's bigger, but Willie's the biggest. Alicia's cool in Perth. Britney's cooler, but Willie's the coolest. Britney was happy in Hobart. Alicia was happier, but Willie was the happiest. Alicia was silly in Sydney. Britney was sillier, but Willie was the silliest. Britney is massive in Melbourne. Alicia is more massive, but Willie is the most massive. You see how we're going on to adjectives with two syllables, just building it up. Alicia is awesome. Awesome in Alice. Britney is more awesome, but Willie is the most awesome. Britney's show was capital in Canberra. Alicia's was more capital, and Willie's was the most capital. So we're going on to adjectives with three syllables. Alicia was wonderful, wonderful in Wollongong. Britney was more wonderful, and Willie was the most wonderful. Britney was incredible, incredible in Illawarra. Alicia, more incredible, but Willie was the most incredible. See how we're going on to adjectives with four syllables, building up now. Alicia is superlative. Superlative in Surfer's Paradise. Britney's more superlative. But Willie, yes, is the most superlative. Now, the chant is going to be on the screen, and I'd like you just to chant it together to practice the comparatives and superlatives. So we're going to end up with our 7 words to learn from this vlog. Remember, you think it's only 7, but you will be surprised. As I always say, you will be surprised how often you do meet them when in reading and listening to English. Awesome. Awesome. Eloquent. Eloquent. Incredible. Incredible. Interviewee. Interviewee. I think the stress, I'll change that. It would be more interviewee. Interviewee. Dada, dada. But the other version is all right. You wouldn't be seen as making a mistake. Lonesome. Lonesome. Obligation. Obligation. Prohibition. Prohibition. All right, well, that's the end of this vlog and the end of the series. Thank you for following it. As usual, please, we ask if you like it, please tell your friends and subscribe if you like it that much. And we do plan further series of vlogs on, and we'll expand into things like literature, poetry, songwriting, all using English and practicing English. So let's, good luck with your English. God bless. Assalamu alaikum. Dakhla.